Hi, I'm Jordan.
I'm Sheridan.
And together we're Sippin on Spice podcast.
Yes, and we treat this like a girls' night. So once a week, Jordan and I get together and we review a book that we've recently read. Now, our thoughts can get a little unhinged, so you're definitely going to want to grab a beverage for this.
Yep, and we rate everything on a star scale, so a scale of 1 to 5 as to how good we thought the book was, as well as a penne scale. We use this instead of a spice scale because if you can picture a penne pasta, you can picture what we're thinking of.
Yes. And this week, we are reviewing the sequel to Lightlark. We're reviewing Nightbane by Alex Aster. I know! I am so excited to talk about this book.
We binged this series to date because book 3 isn't out yet. I think November, which I'm already emotionally not ready to wait.
Right? Oh my gosh. Like, November is so far away.
It feels like years away, given what Alex left me with. Hang on. the overwhelmed I feel is just like a brain short circuit. I'm like that TikTok meme where it's that old lady and she's like, It perfectly describes the Lightlark and Nightbane experience, I think, to a T. Even throughout the whole book, she just at the last 100 pages hits you with just like emotional damage.
Yes, oh my gosh, she is really good at that at the end of her books. You really go through the ringer. Like you're like ready, you're on a journey, you're reading what's happening. And then at the last couple 100 pages, like you said, it's like, dang, back to back, shocker, shocker, shocker. Like, were you more shocked at the last 100 pages of Nightbane or the last 100 pages of Lightlark, or same level?
I'm going to say the same level just because like there was it felt like other fantasies where like things have been too chill. And even then, like saying too chill is very generous of me. Saying too chill in this situation is very generous of me. Okay. They are going through it. What I think was the hardest for me to digest from this book particularly was their fixation that Grimm was coming to attack them.
Yes.
I really struggled believing that, especially as she recalled memories. She kind of cherry picked some things to leave out, in my opinion, with the sole focus that like what's the way I want to put this? The sole focus that he's invading them. They can't even put a reason to it other than they want to take her.
Yeah, that was confusing too. I think that was supposed to move along the plot or move along the perspective. And I guess that was supposed to be part of the big reveal or the confusion or the big reveal of Grimm is not that bad. But I felt the same way too. This whole book we're reading and it's like, he's coming to get her, but he's going to kill everyone at the same time. But he literally wasn't that much of a villain in book 1. Why is he doing this?
And also, like, the memories you're recalling, he's not, like, I guess a little bit. Listen, he's I want to pause here and say he's not a great guy.
No, we need to get into this. Should we do synopsis and then we just need to talk about Oro, Grimm, Isla love triangle? We just gotta talk about it.
But I do want to, I still want to go back to my main struggle with that plot though, but you're right. Let's do it. I'm going to let you, the resident baddie of being able to explain a fantasy novel to somebody. I'm going to let you summarize. I'm going to say here, go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so this is book 2 from Lightlark. So we pick up from the end, post all of her betrayals. And this book's overarching synopsis is kind of like her trying to get her memories back. It's tied to her nightshade abilities. So the more nightshade abilities she can unlock, the more she can remember that of the memories that were wiped. She wants to remember
for like the first 50%. Yes. She does not want to remember for the first 50%. Then it becomes clear she has to in order for this war to happen.
Exactly.
She needs to remember.
Exactly. And I guess the conflict is that she is worried, like you're right, she's having these visions of Grimm and and destruction and war and all these things. Yeah. She is assuming death. She is assuming that Grimm is coming to kill her and all of the island of Lightlark. But as we've kind of talked a little bit, we don't have a lot of basis in that, but that is her assumption by the memories that she starts to remember. And so the majority of the book is her trying to learn her powers. She spends the first half of the book really close to Oro. There's a lot going on there. And also remembering these things with Grimm. We get her backstory with Grimm, how they fell in love. And now we then end at the end of the book where they have their big, would you call it a face-off or reunion? It's a reunion.
Yeah,
it's a
the love triangle has a reunion and
Yes.
another immediate decision. I don't want to get into that yet. I think that's a good.
Let's hold it on. Yeah, let's hold on to it.
Pin that because there's so much to unpack before that. Diving specifically back into this whole Grimm is coming to get us. Again, I don't think it had a ton of basis. 2, I think that she, in her memories, I don't think she did it intentionally, but there are pieces of her memories she's not talking about. Maybe because she feels guilty about her relationship with Grimm. Maybe because she doesn't want to accept that relationship with Grimm. But there are nuances to some of these dreams that I think she leaves out that makes it impossible for other people to think critically about the problem.
Ooh,
but I also think, and I'm going to take you to point 3, which is Cleo and Grimm. Listen, you didn't talk to anybody. Not a singular, not a pigeon, not a bat signal, not a, you know what I mean? Like not anything that you could say. I tried to at least give you a gist of what was happening. He did himself. Cleo did herself. 0 favors it. If this big mighty thing is coming, you're gonna sit there and say, "Oh, wait till she remembers."
Yes, that is odd. And the big mighty thing,
till the oracle tells her.
Exactly. That is actually a really good point because the quote unquote big mighty thing that's coming, the destruction of the island, is that the island is dying. And apparently there's this other world they originated from eons ago before they came to the Lightlark Island that has all the power there. And they're trying to ultimately find a way back to this island.
My biggest bugaboo with this book is just that I just don't feel like Isla learned her lesson. She went through every single person and blamed every single person down to her handmaiden before she knew Celeste, where all the flags are pointing. Okay, fine, naive, accepted. Okay, by book 2, while you're on the betrayal marathon run, just getting fucking color painted by everybody's betrayals on you, don't tell me that you just immediately assume something again. How did we not learn?
That's a really valid point. She did not learn any deductive reasoning. I still love Isla as a character, but I think she's a very emotional and Oro actually calls this out. He calls this out. She is ruled by her emotions, and that's tied to her power, all of that, but she's ruled by her emotions, and she is so emotional sometimes she can't logically think as a character and use deductive reasoning to like learn her lesson, as you call out.
Yeah, it's almost like she's so reactive is almost the better way to put it. Like her emotions make her react right now. And it's like, what if, and hear me out, you take like a walkabout and then you come back and you don't even. It was crazy to me that she never reevaluated it. She was holding on to this betrayal and assuming that he was such a bad guy. He just wanted to start a war. Even though one of her first memories, this is actually the memory I'm thinking of. One of the first memories she thinks of is how he said he did not want to follow in his father's shoes. He did not agree with what his father did, which was starting the war with Lightlark, and that he was the one to say, let's just take an L and move on.
Yeah, that is so true.
Why would you remember that first memory and immediately think he wants to finish what his dad did? That's just crazy to me.
That's very valid. I don't know if the journey that Isla is going on is a journey of self-discovery where she's all of her social structures, all of her emotional structures are crumbled and destroyed at the end of book 1. So I don't know if we're supposed to give her a lot of grace into book 2, where she's rebuilding all of those social and emotional structures. And we're supposed to because she does act. Is irrationally the right word? It's not irrational. It's just not logical.
Reactive. It's too fast. It's that it's like if you were to make a decision in the heat of a fight versus like what an adult does, which is like take a minute and then decide if they want to do this thing, right? I feel like every single action is so reactive that there's no like moment where she had like a critical thinking moment and said, do I think Grimm wants to take down all of Lightlark and all of these races just to take me back?
Very true. It's very interesting.
He threw me to another man in the meantime.
I know. Okay, when we finished the episode on Lightlark, we both said we really wanted him to grovel and we wanted a really good explanation of why he did this. A, we did not get groveling.
He did not even show up. He did not give a
fuck. No, we also didn't get a good explanation of why he wiped the memories. And B, there was we had said the consent was a big deal. I don't think she had consent. From what I read, the explanation, no consent.
There was no consent. It doesn't make sense why there was no consent. Because they have this love. They got married. Bonded for life. I actually think this is so important. I wrote in all capitals, wife. Okay, you ready?
Forever.
Actually, this is kind of up. You ready? I wrote, wife. She just got handed by Oro.
That's true. Oh, that's true. Okay.
Here.
Oh, you're getting ready.
How am I supposed to give Grimm a pass and just think that he was fine with his wife?
That he's bonded to forever.
Forever. That he chose. That he shares his crazy power with. That he wiped her memories, that he did not give her the forever bond until she couldn't realize what he gave her.
Right.
And entrapped her.
Basically.
And then gave no explanation for his actions. Waited for her to quote unquote remember and then swings on back in. I'm fucking sorry. Excuse me. Have several seats.
Exactly.
I disagree.
I do too. Okay, so I wanted to see groveling on Grimm's part. I wanted to see pain. I wanted to see jealousy. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted his point of view of him dying inside 100%. At her being with Oro. We got
sitting outside the Wildling Palace crying in the rain. That's what I wanted. And I wanted to laugh at him while he did it. Okay.
Yes.
Not a singular scene.
No, so it's so hard to still be Team Grimm in this book. I mean, I can see where the story is going, but it's so hard to genuinely be Team Grimm when we didn't get any of that. Because you're telling me, and he does this whole spiel, this whole speech on how we never do this because it's dangerous to share power. Nightshades notoriously never sleep with the same woman twice, let alone fall in love because they don't want to go down this path. You sleep with her more than once. You fall in love with her. You do a forever bond, but you're okay with her falling in love with another man. And you set her up for that. Put her in the arms of another man and then really do nothing to try to get her back during that time period.
It's not a thing. Like, he shows up around, in all honesty, like, I don't give a shit. What are you doing?
We don't even know. Yeah, we don't even know if that's genuinely him because she says she remembers things. So we don't even know if he took the effort to show up and lurk.
And I just cannot fathom what his reasoning is for this gap. Listen, we could read. November will come around and you and I will sit in these chairs and we'll have a chat. And I genuinely hope I can tell you that I'm very pleased with that path because here's the hard thing. I'm sitting here on my throne complaining, but did I enjoy this book?
Yes. I needed to know what was going to happen. I was turning the pages quickly to find out.
Yes, I stayed up literally all night to finish it. just so that we could, because we were going to do a completely different record tonight. And I was like, I feel like you and I are halfway through this book already. I think that we should just see it out. And you were like, yeah, I care a lot. I care a lot, but I have been wronged.
Yes. Okay. So this is a tangent I want to take. I took the liberty of notating with Post-it notes, so I didn't turn the beautiful pages. And I ran out of Post-it notes. There's more even than here.
You've got like little like lint.
Yes. Of the times where I was like, Oro's a good man. He's a good man, Isla. And like, you need to give him more of a genuine chance, because you were right from our last episode. They never do anything.
They do.
Okay, one time.
But that's okay.
Just fingers.
That's my point. Is that that was a long time. That was what, 6 months? Do we call it 6 months?
6 months. And they do one little moment.
Here's my point. Hang tight here. 6 months. And Grimm did not show up, did not stop anything. Who is he to say that they're not out there banging?
Who's you.
To say that they didn't get married?
Valid. She just
they're different. Married. They're different rituals. You know what I mean? There's a nightshade tradition. Is there going to be like a mystical being that's like, bing, nope, you're already married? Like when she tried to marry Oro?
No.
We don't know. And so
why
was he so okay with that?
Yeah, we need a better explanation in the third book of why he was okay with it. We need his POV again, which is what we said in last episode of book 1. We need his POV. We need to know what he was thinking, because I'm also still, and I don't know if it's just me, I'm not really clear why.
Why what?
I like why I know he needed Oro and her to be in love to take Oro's powers for everything they were going to do. Oh, okay. Is the big why of all of that because she had died from the whole dragon trying to get the sword. He saves her, but she's on borrowed time. Because remember at the end, Oro says that was temporary. And then Grimm says, yep, that's why I'm trying to get to the other world where I can make it permanent.
Yeah. He needs magic to make it permanent, or at least, and it's interesting that you say it was temporary, and maybe you read this better than me, which is totally possible, because by the end, I think you're just like, what the fuck, trying to digest, you know what I mean? All of the things that are happening to me. But the way I interpreted what he said was he was trying to go there to separate their hearts. Not that there was a timeline on it, but that to unbond them from being one person.
Grimm,
but again,
Oro.
Grimm. So Grimm had said, right? So we go down to they're sharing a heart pretty much through their bond of one dies, the other dies, is what we wrap this puppy up with. But what he actually says that I remember, and again, just off the cuff here, is that he said that them sharing a heart, I thought, was what he was trying to correct.
Okay,
that's what I forget. You might be right. I might have missed that.
No,
which that would make more sense.
You might
because
be right.
I was like, you agreed, you took on my heart, and now you're mad that we're connected. You know what I mean? Again, me just being salty and crazy. That's a really crazy opinion.
No, you could be right now. I feel like I need to reread it. How I took it was Oro says he doesn't say these words, but I took it as when you save someone that way, when you share a heart so that she didn't die, that's temporary. So I took it
way more sense in my
as
opinion.
She's on borrowed time. He's doing all this. He's doing this mass manipulation, all this chaos, and
that would make a lot of sense
because he wants to take her to the other world with the magic to make it permanent. Because she basically,
and maybe Oro had to teach her. You know what I mean? Like that's a good sense.
I mean, we need to reread. We need to read
a little bit of my mind, if you're right.
Yeah, we need to reread because we need to know. Because now I'm like, oh, maybe I completely misunderstood. Because I left the book. I ended the book being like, oh, she's going to end up with Grimm. Because it was
obviously.
Yeah. Because I was like, you know what? We're in book 3.
I do want to dive into that. I do. Because
let's do it.
You're right. I actually want to wait. I want to put a pin in that.
Okay.
I want to start at the beginning.
Okay.
beginning.
All my post-it notes of how Oro was really nice.
Oh
You know
my
what's
God.
crazy to me? On TikTok, this isn't a spoiler for the episode. Well, who cares at this point? It's an episode. But TikTok, I saw all these things saying that Oro was like a Tamlin that held her back. I saw so many posts saying that. And then
So there was one scene where I could see that opinion.
Okay, but I also feel like he just genuinely cared about her. And he didn't want her to burn out and hurt herself.
I think when he says he's disappointed in her after using her emotions to channel this extra power because she remembered what Grimm taught her, I think that his mind was in the right place, because what she ends up seeing is she's chasing blood, right? Which is crazy. That means she's probably trying to kill, trying to go for, the way I took it, right? Go for blood. Makes her bloodthirsty versus, controlled power. Now, what I didn't like about the way he spoke to her was almost like he was disappointed in her. And that felt kind of daddy to me, but not in like a oh daddy way, but like in like a hi dad way.
Right. Right.
And I struggled with that part. Other than that, you have to think, if we really take a beat and take a step out, Grimm told her pain was power.
Yes.
And she does that. Pain is blood, chasing blood. If you really think about it, Grimm is teaching her dangerous tactics with no real boundaries.
True. That's extremely true. At the end, I thought it was really powerful. Side note, I was like, oh, this is cool. When she tells him, I believe, she's like, pain is not the most powerful thing, it's love. Like, I was like, ooh, She got you there, homeboy, because he doesn't love her as much as she loves him. I am struggling.
I don't feel like she loves Grimm either. I was actually thinking about what you said last time. And one of the biggest things that jumped out to me was that you had made a comment about how you felt like her attraction or her relationship with Grimm was purely based on lust, and that her relationship with Oro was based on friendship. We do, with the memories, have a friendship with Grimm beforehand. But I do still think that the person that actually made her happy
was Oro.
The person who actually trained her to use her powers.
Oro.
The person who actually, when she's having moments that she looks back on and thinks, like, this is love. Like, she has so many shining love moments that for me, I didn't think showed that she didn't love him. Yeah. Actually, I do feel like your case is better in this book than it was in the first book, that her real relationship is with Oro.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I completely agree with what you said. I think this book, last book showcased her relationship with Oro, but this book absolutely does as well. One of my mini post-it notes is that she literally says...
One of the many.
Right? She literally says, she asks multiple times, is this love? But also...
Wait, I actually want to pause on that because that is my first note. I'm really glad you brought that up. My heart literally broke as she went through every action of being with Oro. Emotional, physical, all of the little pieces where she had seen and held so much doubt for herself and kept asking herself, is this love?
I know, because she doesn't know.
My heart broke at every turn that she said that, because one, she doesn't know, but two, like, what a sad thing to sit there, because the root of what really happened to her, outside of all of the trauma of all of these things, right? You could put the walls up. I thought she did a really great job of going through what someone would if they had been betrayed by pretty much everybody. Like, she has such a reasonable growth scale outside of her ability to ration out with her brain. If you look at her grieving path, very realistic, very understandable, very sympathetic with her, which I don't typically feel. Like, even, I'll go as far as to say this, even Farah's growth and sad arc she does in A Court of, what is it, Mist and Fury? In A Court of Mist and Fury, I was so annoyed with her.
How dare thou say that?
Listen, I love that series, don't get me wrong, but I sympathize more with Nesta than I did with Farrah.
I can see that.
But again, I saw a lot of her strife, don't get me wrong, like hunting for your family, like her human life, yes. I struggled with her fae life. And I feel the same here, that she had the potential to do a very similar, like, sad arc where it was very Alanis Morissette of her. And I feel like she was just more like Gwen Stefani, you know what I mean? A little dangerous, but also still fun, still reasonable.
Yes. No, I completely agree. I like Isla a lot as a character. And I think, again, with the whole emotional reactions, I don't think she wallowed much, which I think
she was relatable. She
yes.
was relatable in the way that you would be sad, but then you get up.
Right. And you would try to make a path forward, which I think she does really well. So I just want to call out some of these Oro moments. No, because I really want to talk about when she talks about being in love. There's literally a part where Oro is training her, and she's like, for the first time in forever, I feel genuinely happy and loved. And I was like, dang, why isn't she with Oro? That's how you should feel in love. And then it's also, Oro does that. He does say, he pulls out, who did this to you? When the Winterland people would attack her, he does who did this to you?
I hit my mic in a fit of fury because guess what?
What?
My third bullet point is in all capitals also, Oro hitting me with a who did this to you?
Who did this to you? And I know Grimm does it later when he's like, who did this to you? I guess all of them.
Not the same.
Not the same. I agree. I am on your team and it's not the same.
Listen,
and then
I get what they're doing. I don't agree yet.
I agree. I wrote this down because this broke my heart. And when she's like, please don't leave me, because she's going through like physical pain and all the pain for getting her powers or whatever. And the winged ancient creature like gives her powers, and she's like sick, and she's like, please don't leave me. And he's like, never. And he never does. Oh my God. And then his friend, his really close friend, I wrote this down to talk about too. Enya. It's like, actually, I don't like you for him because he loves you too much and it makes him irrational. And I was like, cool. So actually, he loves me a lot and you think we should be together. That's what you just told me, Enya. Because literally the friend is like, he doesn't listen to reason because he loves you so much.
So it's so funny that you say that, because the hardest part that I had with this, because I am Team Oro, but what they do a good job of to keep you on this, this teeter-totter, which, by the way, I am riding happily. Again, I am going to sit here on my soapbox and complain about things. Do not get me wrong. But I had fun the whole time. So one of the things that I say is that the found family was rejecting her. Think about that. We don't see that. The found family, even the people she got along with, right? She had the angry friend who didn't want anything to do with her. She had the middle friend who just didn't engage with her. And then she had Enya, who still didn't when the found family rejects you, I feel like if Oro doesn't die, Oro's going to end up with Enya.
I think so too. And I didn't love that. And then I wrote down specifically, I had conflicted feelings about how she even says I should feel jealousy towards Enya because she's been friends with Oro since they were childhood. They're similar, yada, yada, yada. And she was like, but I don't feel jealousy. And that is where I started to feel like, and she does mention being very jealous of Grimm.
I guess the reason I didn't feel that way, or at least it didn't raise the red flag to me, that I think I'll go into some of I will go into some of my red flags later, because honestly, I didn't have any red flags, surprisingly, until later on between Oro and Isla, which I thought I would. I thought right away it would be me feeling like, oh, she's just pushing him away kind of thing. That's where I thought we were going to go with it. I took her relationship with Enya as her seeing that there was no sexual tension between them, and almost like a comfort. I almost took it as like her accepting them as a found family versus being a jelly donut. And I guess for me, I thought, oh, wow, what a healthy reaction.
I am a psychopath. I'm such a jelly donut. I'd be like, this is not okay on any level. I apologize.
You're a Boston cream, baby.
I am not dealing with this. But okay, I have multiple notes, and then because I think the author did something very specific in this book.
Oh, okay.
Where he spent the majority of the first half really building Oro up, and then something shifts in the second half when the memories start to get, and all of a sudden, all these cracks with Oro start to show.
I more saw it as, I actually spent some time thinking about this, and I'm interested to see what you have, because my thought was more she out of sight, out of minded him, more than gave us concrete problems. Because I spent some time, I felt the same way I did with Lightlark, right? Where I read it, didn't take as many notes, but then sat down and thought, and then had all of these thoughts that like I processed once I worked through the shock of the last 100 pages. But my first thought was, I thought she just kind of out of sight, out of minded him. I didn't feel like I got a good reason.
Ooh,
outside of hard memories, and all of our time was in the past mentally, right? Our time was spent mentally in the past. What did Oro do wrong?
I guess it's really just the disappointment thing. And then also the, I guess, again, seeing the TikToks, I'm not saying that I necessarily agreed with this perspective all the way, but from what I saw from the TikToks, when he was trying to hold her back from having as much power as possible using pain. But then even later, she goes on to say it's not pain, it's love that brings in the most power. Yeah. So that's kind of a mute argument a little bit too. But I think it's really just the disappointment aspect. It's the, I think they're doubling down on the friend being like, he needs to do what's best for the kingdom, and you're making him irrational and not choosing what's best for the kingdom. I think that will come into play even more in book 3. He's going to choose the kingdom over her. And I guess we're supposed to believe Grimm won't, even though he kind of has. I don't know.
I actually think is going to happen.
What?
I think Oro has to die.
The prophecy. The prophecy.
Exactly. That prophecy, I took, honestly, usually I take prophecies at a grain of salt because they're usually vague. The only way I see this not being very literal is if they bring him back to life somehow. But I don't see a world in which they both live.
No, I completely agree. I just also have questions on, with that being said, with the marriage bond and the prophecy of one has to die. Oro has to be the one that dies, because unless they figure something out, if Grimm dies, she dies. But then it's also right because they're tied, they're bonded through. So,
well, I mean, they could break the bond and then he could die.
They could, but I don't think Grimm wants to break the bond. But then I also just have questions like, I want to see more, and I hope we get it in book 3. Did Grimm propose? Because the memory before the memory of marriage is she feels betrayed by him, and he tells her, no, I was looking for the sword with you. We were teaming up because I was going to sacrifice you. The cost of the sword was your life. That is literally the memory before.
And they meet back up. No, they meet back up.
One time, and she's still angry. And then literally the next memory is they're married.
No, I agree with that. And it's interesting because I thought the same thing. How did they jump to marriage? How did he jump to so in love with her? And again, there has to be a tier of consent, but she does make a comment like, and you know the rest. But again, we know that we're in her mind, and we know that from her standpoint, she's irrational when it comes to these memories and friendship and love and actually what really happened. She lacks the ability to critically think there.
True. That's very true. That's very, very true. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see what they do in book 2. I actually ended this book, shockingly or not, in the first half. Again, I have noted all the sweet moments of Oro. But I think in the second half of the book, I'm like, okay, I can see her and Grimm's relationship. I see where they're going. If they could fill in a few more blanks, I could be on board. But I will say this. While I love this book and I had a great time reading, I don't love the trajectory of Oro was this great guy. He really supports her. There's even a sticky note I have here where he says, "You'll never be alone again," because she has all this past trauma in her around being alone. There's literally a part where he says, "You'll never be alone again because of me." I don't love that we're almost character assassinating Oro to go on this part of he's quote unquote disappointed.
I don't think we're going to do that. I actually don't. That's why I think he has to die, actually. That was my biggest belief as to why he has to die, is because I don't think that there is a world in which in this third book, because I think the third book is the final book, right?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
There is no world in this third book unless this whole thing was a lie and he's been manipulating her and all of his friends were manipulating her, which I do not believe to be
Agreed.
true.
I don't think so.
I think that the reason they have to kill him, or he has to die, I don't think they will kill him. I think he will die. She will have a choice of who to save, who to help, who to whatever, right? I think the point is more if he dies, the conflict.
Yeah.
Dies.
And she kind of goes, no, I agree. I could see that happening. Yeah.
I hate it, but I hate it less. But I agree with you. I think if they go down a path of character assassinating him in a way that is not, he's been up to shit all along, I will be pissed.
Totally. Because it's that would just be such a dramatic shift. No, so I completely agree. I'm really interested. One thing I did love about this book, another point, I really found it interesting when they went into the ancients, or the serpent woman, I guess, the serpent shapeshifter who was a wildling. I'm like, I want to learn more about this. Like, how did these?
I think they started talking about it towards the end about rejecting the power of the connection to the
Yes.
I think that's going to be very important in this next piece. I think that's going to break bonds between her and Grimm. I think, you know what I mean? I think the whole storyline is going to be in that.
I don't think they're going to break the bond.
Oh, well,
between her and Grimm. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to break the power bonds. I don't think so. I think they're going to fair and race this out.
Break the power bonds.
No, that's the whole point, right? Because they're going to that other world.
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you meant the power share between them being in love.
No, the power between the rulers and the subjects. But I don't think the life bond is going to change.
That'll be interesting. I think another reason I believe Oro has to die is because when they do this power breaking, Lightlark does not need him to live.
Very true. So then, and he's tied, they say multiple times, he's tied to the island.
He's tied to the island. He's tied to every, I think he has to die. I think he's going to take like a big L for the team kind of die though.
Which, you know what I mean? Is going to make me like him more.
Yeah. I think that he's going to go out in a blaze of glory.
Oof.
We're going to be traumatized. You and I will forever be on this Team Oro line, struggling with this relationship with Grimm. I think that's
I wanted more. I actually wrote down a note too, which is very messed up, but how I genuinely felt. I wanted to genuinely believe Grimm really loved her. Yeah. And I left not feeling that way. I did not feel that way.
It just, again, when he showed up, it was maybe a memory, maybe reality. I actually wrote from him appearing everywhere is very Edward of him.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You are so right. He was such the Edward.
I feel like she's telling us through these parallels. And I think, yes, Grimm is endgame. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you enough how bad I want to believe that Grimm is endgame. I want to agree with
you this. You mean Oro?
No.
Oh, you want to believe? You want to be behind Grimm as the endgame?
They have not given us Grimm. They gave us their growth of a relationship, right? They gave us love by proximity. Right. They gave us self-sacrifice. But in reality, take what you learned about those little memories. Do you love Grimm? Take Oro out of it. Just the memories. Do you love Grimm?
We talk about self-sacrifice too. I think she does a lot of the sacrificing. And then B, also a thought I had that I wrote down. She is so sheltered. She has no love in her life. Not from her family, not from guardians, not from anything. She literally, the first person who showed her a bit of attention, that is not love. I'm sorry.
Right.
That
And
is
even when
not
they had camaraderie at best. I wouldn't even call it friendship until the end. Until as they progress. Again, I thought they showed exactly. I thought they showed a lustful and a growth in relationship. I thought they grew trust, actually. Trust is really the basis of a lot of what happens. But based on what they gave me memory-wise, do I think he's better than Oro? Absolutely not.
No, I agree.
Her getting her mother's bonded.
Oh, Lynx. Yes. Oh my gosh. So sweet. So sweet.
I was so emotional at the memories.
Oh, I know.
When she finally saw her mom for the first time.
I know.
For the first time?
I know. And she could like see through his eyes. That was really sweet. I wish we had more there too. I felt like that was kind of like quickly done. I wish we had spent more time there.
You ready for this note?
Yes.
It seems in the past she was also wet all the time.
She was a damsel in distress. Not only was she wet all the time, she was a damsel in distress.
I just feel like if in book 3 she's not always wet, we're just not on theme. We're just not on brand.
No, she's yes. What I really wrote down is a difference from book 1 and book 2. She's so in the backstories, she's so much more of a damsel in distress in her memories. Way more.
Actually, at first that pissed me off because I thought, remember how we talked about in the last chat that Poppy and Tara really set her up for success, that she was a badass with the sword. And at first, when I was reading about her fight with Grimm, her duel with Grimm, all of that, because again, this is a year ago. So realistically, she didn't grow crazily in the year, you know? She didn't have some magical glow up. It was a year ago before the centennial. So her losing to Grimm right away and being obviously not that great at first really upset me. But then I, again, sat and thought in it. He's been alive 500 years at least.
True.
If he was better at her, even if she spent every day training, it makes way more sense that he's stronger than her. And it makes actually now scenes in Lightlark make more sense where one, here's my guesses. Remember the scene we talked about how I said when they went into combat, they had a moment that they seemed the same. And that's why I thought they were the same person. Grimm trained her. She pulled out a training move that Grimm did not think she would remember. That's bet number 1. Bet number 2 is she pulled out something Grimm-like on Oro. And he was like, that's weird. In their
true. No, I completely agree. No, I agree with you. I think that's a really good point. I thought that was really interesting, and that's very true. And I think when I was reading this and reading the memories, it did make you think back to book 1 of being like, oh, from that perspective, it is really interesting. Like from the memory loss, etc., how that all played out.
Grimm said that him calling her a nickname, Heart Eater, whatever. Was less respectful than her actual name. Okay. This is actually one of my biggest issues with Grimm. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Do you remember any time in the first book he called her by her first name?
No. He calls her Heart Eater the entire first book in my memory.
That's my point. If he's hanging out in the background pretending like she's a whatever, why did he not give her the respect of her name ever?
That's a really good point. And I honestly wonder if that was
she would only remember that in the future. She would only remember that in the future.
I wonder if it's like, I have 2 thoughts. One, is it an author mess up? Like, is it if the author forgot that they were going to write that in and they didn't think about that? Or 2, is it he's trying to say he's treating her like a stranger and he's completely treating her like a stranger?
That would make more sense.
I don't know.
But it's such like I feel like an inside
they make a point.
Not the right word. But you know what I mean?
Point. Yeah. He makes such a point.
It just feels like, okay, so even in her intimate moments with you, I can't remember you calling her by name. So am I supposed to believe that you just did that out of what? Your point is the best, right? Just to pretend they're strangers, but it wouldn't have an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, another note, back to the war. Why after the sword memory is she not talking about how he wanted to banish Drex? The very first sword memory, right? Take his dad out of it, take him not agreeing with him trying to pursue Lightlark. He specifically tells her he wants the sword to fight off the Drex and to get rid of them, not to control them. So why is her immediate belief that he's controlling Drex?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I wonder if she... I guess she's just dying hard on this hill of he's the bad guy from the betrayal. This is the part where it gets really confusing. I don't think there's a good basis on her thoughts.
Yeah, the only thing I can think realistically at this point, the only thing I can think is that she believed that the entire thing was a betrayal. So without seeing the other memories of falling in love, she consistently believed that he betrayed her on purpose.
True. So she's thinking all of that is a lie. Every good thing he said, every meeting her, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Honestly,
it's reasonable.
Reasonable. The last note I have before we dive into ratings was we were right about his heart comment. So remember how we were. Yes. Lightlark. It wasn't just hers. You and I both discussed that we thought that his heart meant something, and it
did. It did. We were right in multiple places. I actually wrote that down as a note. It's like, oh, in our last episode,
how we were right.
We were right. So A, that the heart comment. B, nothing really physical other than one scene lightly happens with Oro. It's just kind of always, and we never get a true explanation.
No.
Exactly. We never get a true explanation on why is no. Exactly. He's supposedly also in love with her, which I did believe. He's super attracted to her, but he's always going to say no. So the heart, the nothing happening between her and Oro really, but those were the two big ones.
Okay. So star rating.
Yes.
I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead.
Oh, this is hard because I rated book 1 as 5 stars because I super enjoyed it and loved it.
Stand
this
by
one
that.
I'm going to say 4s.
That's what I think too.
4 stars.
I think 4 stars just because I don't feel like I have a good choice yet.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have enough answers yet. Now, based on how Alex has been writing these books, I believe I'm going to be wrapped up in the next book.
Okay.
I'm hoping. Maybe that's a better word. I have hope that in the next book I'm going to be wrapped up because in reality, every section we've been invested in, we've really cared about, we've been frustrated, emotional, etc. Right? She has made us feel. So I believe that if she's going to wrap it up in a way, that she's going to make you believe that wrap up. I'm convinced that book 3 is going to be a 5.
True. I agree. I think this is the middle book. It's the connector book, which is really common in fantasy series. I just think we're connecting to the end of the story. I think next book, I totally agree with you, is going to be a 5-star. This one I was rated as 4 because I just wanted more from Grimm, more explanation, more backstory of believing their love story. But I did, again, enjoy it, sped through it. I needed to know what happened. I enjoyed my read. So 4.
Yeah, agreed. Spice rating.
Spicier than the last one. A little bit. Not by a lot, but at least some. Yeah, because last one I think we did 0.5.
0.5, and that was being generous. I'd give it a 1. It's still very closed door, very throne of glass, very vague. Again, fine. Appropriate for the book.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with how much there was in this book. I think it's very important. I think a lot of people rely on a spice score to be like, oh, I like spicy books. But I really think that, especially in fantasy, when we dive into fantasy, if we're going to be a true world building fantasy investment, not a telenovela, not like a light read, right? A real series dig. I think you have to pick your spice correctly. And I think it's okay to err on the side of caution. And I think that the spice is very relevant for this book.
I completely agree. It would have been out of place if she was super banging Oro. It would have been out of place if she was super banging Grimm in the memories.
And I think, too, anytime she talks about spice with Oro, she really makes a point to say that she's doing it out of a place of wanting to shut off, wanting to.
Oh, that's true. Like escape mentally.
I think that they have loving moments, 100%. I think she shares that she loves him. But when we talk about the down and dirty side, right? Outside of kisses, outside of, when we advance past that, the true relationship side, she consistently tells us that I want to not feel anything. I want him not to feel anything.
Yeah.
I want to, you know what I mean? It's never, I want to share a connection with him.
That's very true. And I think that's probably going to play into the relationships between all of them, because it's almost always an escape. And I think that maybe also ties into the wildling seductress powers of maybe spicy time is used as a power dynamic action versus an action of love and connection, like you said, where I think she did feel that way more so with Grimm. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out in book 3, but I agree.
So, first question for you is, who do you think she's going to end up with?
Oh, Grimm.
I think
Grimm
too.
I don't think there's any doubt. I don't know that. I just think everything that was set up, especially the end when she says, I love you, but I love him too. I do think she loves Grimm, but I don't want her to love Grimm. I don't know that relationship is healthy. I just need more details. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also we saw fan art as a potential spoiler of this book series where Grimm is taking all the arrows for her. When we actually get to the scene in the book, it is way downplayed.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, the fan art makes it seem super romantic, tragic. He took all these arrows for her. In the book, I was kind of like...
Well, I think in the book at first, I thought it was romantic and thought of the fan art. And then as they went on to describe that he was going to let her sacrifice herself for that sword, I thought, least you could do is take a couple arrows.
Yeah, right? And I know he eventually does then kind of shut it down and say, no, I don't want to look for the sword anymore. But for a really long time, you did.
Yeah,
For the majority of her memory, she remembers. He's under the impression.
Now, I believe that Oro has the right to feel truly betrayed.
Oh, yeah. He needs his own series.
Based on how this ended, I think that whatever Oro and Squad do from here on out is reasonable, because all of his friends are going to look at him and be like, told you so.
Yeah.
And he has to sit there knowing he gave up everything, all of that time, all of the, like, I mean, to your point, right? When she was getting her powers, days, weeks, he sat there with her.
Villain arc for Oro. Villain arc and redemption for Oro. Not redemption.
Yeah, but I think that they're going to be mad. I think, and I think it looks like she planned it now, right? Right? Yeah. Doesn't it look like she planned with him, have him spend his whole time to do this just for him to take her and her to say she loves them both? I know. She looks bad. She looks like she's with Grimm.
And then even with the whole, like, let me find it. It's like, she's like, don't touch me or let me go. And then I think we're supposed to find it really romantic and dashing that Grimm says, let go of my wife. But I remember being like, dang, that's effed up for Oro. Like, really messed up.
I was Pikachu. To say I was Pikachu shocked at that reveal is an understatement.
Very shocked. Same. I was like,
when
they're married.
Wife. When he said he had the memory of him talking about the necklace that he did not give her beforehand, only to give her later. I am so mad.
I agree. That's hard. Oof. That's hard.
Okay. Any predictions for book 3? What do you have?
I think the serpent is going to come into play because of this cover of the book. So the serpent lady, I hope we can predict that we're going to get more information about her and Grimm's love story. I'm hoping that's coming more so. I'm hoping we get Grimm's point of view, but I think genuinely all I believe is we're going to go to the island or other world, not island, but we're going to portal the other world. And then we're also, I think Oro's going to die. I agree with you. And I think we're going to learn more about the serpent because of the cover.
They have made a point throughout this book and even the book before, but I think mainly in this book, even through her best times, they've made it seem like she does not want to rule.
That's a really good point. But I think that they're trying to set it up that she's Grimm's wife and like his co-ruler.
Exactly.
So are we going to go down a trajectory?
She is ruling 2 realms right now. She feels the connection to them, but realistically, and then they talk about power sharing. They talk about heirs marrying each other, all of that being a huge issue, especially because of their link to their peoples. I think in this new world, they break the link to their peoples. I think that's huge. And then from there, I do think she abdicates the throne. I think that she's going to end up as her wife.
Okay, that makes sense. I can see that happening. And
Which
I do
kind
think,
of bumps me out. I see both sides, right? She has told us consistently she doesn't want to do this. Do what you want.
True.
It's also sad that she's such a badass if she ends up as
maybe she'll still
or they share power and rule the realm together.
Share power. Maybe they share power. Mm-hmm.
Because I could see that. I could see them sharing power being a huge problem. If she ruled, let's even take Starling out of it, right? Let's say she gets rid of Starling somehow, offloads them, and she is the wildling leader and he is the Nightshade leader. It just doesn't work.
True.
I think that she's going to sacrifice. Because she doesn't want to be a leader.
I think she's going to pass on Starling to someone else, like maybe that character that was kind of like running things. You know what I mean? I think
the one who also, spoiler alert, betrayed her.
Yeah. But I still think she's going to pass that on to them, and I think she's going to be like a co-ruler of Nightshade. I think that's where we're going. Too.
I think that's where we're going. I think that's the way that makes the most sense. Because honestly, even if she ends up ruling, she's made it very clear she doesn't want to. And why would we want to encourage her to have time?
Agreed. Why would we encourage her? Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to pick a ruler to hang out with, you get to have. Actually, you're going to go to a bar with them. You get to go to a bar with them. You get to have drinks with them. This is a fun time. This isn't like a dinner. But you cannot pick Oro or Grimm. Who do you pick?
You can't pick Oro or Grimm. Oh, pick Isla. She basically dressed for a rave in this book to go to the Starling party. She did. She wore like glitter and I'm picking Isla. What about you?
I actually picked Azul.
Oh, because he could fly.
Well, and he just seems like he like gets the vibe. You know what I mean? Like she was sad. He was like, let me show you something really cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just seems like a sensible friend. Like we'll party maybe we'll have like a nice chat. He's not going to hit on me. It's not going to be weird. We're just gonna have a nice time.
No, I agree. I think that's a good one. I think that's a good diplomatic one.
He's not involved in anybody's drama.
No shenanigans.
Seems like a good time.
Good chill time. He would start, like you said, no drama. He'd be a good, enjoyable time. We could all hang out. Us, Isla, and Azul. We'd all have a great time.
Now, given what you know now, if you had to pick one ruler to marry, you have to give up everything to marry them, though.
Yikes. I'm still picking Oro. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I am. I know this is bad. I know this is probably not what you're supposed to say. I know this is not typically the journey in fantasy romance. And I do love the internal journeys that fantasy romance leads go through. And I love when you can really relate to them. But I want to be the one taking care. Like I want to give, all the work and all that stuff. Please give that to someone else. So I think Oro would make an excellent husband.
You know what? You're right. And here's where I'm going to betray myself.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Nightshades.
You're going to be, I feel like that's a lot of stress. You're going to go.
All of this, you know why? Because at the end of the day, I could still be a passenger princess. I could be if I wanted to.
Yes.
I feel like I would get more of a choice. I do see the Tamlin. Actually, not a lot. Not Tamlin. But I do see some overlaps and why one is a very safe choice and one maybe challenges you more. But again, it's going to really depend on what I learn.
Yeah, that's true. It so depends on what you learn. Oh, it's so hard because at this moment in time, in this book series, I just feel like being married to Grimm would be a lot of deception, a lot of secrets, and a lot of post-stress. What else is he hiding? What else is coming out?
Yeah,
also, the relationship
that's
is
true.
built on lust and sexual attraction. She's extremely jealous of him. Sounds like a very stressful marriage.
Very true.
An extremely stressful marriage.
You're right.
Oro, I don't think she doubted his affections for a moment.
And honestly, he'd be a great time. As much as he might be, he'd err on the side of caution, which would be annoying. But, I mean, who doesn't want to be cautioned with?
Who doesn't want to be, and I think the whole crux of this is who doesn't want to be taken care of.
Okay. Final question.
Yes.
Anybody in this book, literally any person you like, who would you like to hit in the face? One punch, straight to the face.
Oh my God. In this book, book 2.
Book
only.
2.
Book 2.
Book 2.
Can I answer for book 1 as well?
No.
Okay.
You're going to go back and hit Poppy and Tara. And
no, I'm going to hit Celeste. I'm going to hit her hard.
That's tough. No, obviously we want to hit her. I want you to hit somebody in book 2 where it's hard.
Grimm.
Oh, yeah. That's a good thing.
I don't like it. I don't like a few things he did. I don't like I don't want to love you. I want to ruin you. I did not enjoy that because I was like, why do you want to ruin me? Excuse me? I didn't love that.
Yeah.
And then
his phrasings were hard to get though, because he took a long time to admit he actually loved her.
True.
And for them to change that relationship. So it is hard to cherry pick a wording from before they were intimate to when they got intimate, they were serious right away.
True.
You know what I mean? They weren't fooling around.
True. That's very true. That's very true. I'm still hitting Grimm.
Yeah, I'd like to hit him too. Honestly, I just sat here and said what I said. I agree. But I think he could still use a good upper decker.
Oh, totally. I agree. So he's your selection too. We can just both hit him.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're just wrong. And a good hit.
No, totally.
For somebody who values pain so much, a good knock to the face will teach a lesson.
Yeah, it'll give him more power, so to speak. It'll give him more power. It's like if
you valued money and I took your money.
Mm-hmm. It'd be hard.
It'd be value pain. Guess what?
There you go.
Hit to the face.
Right.
And this has become Jordan's TED Talk on why it's okay to hit that person.
You made a solid case for hitting Grimm. You made a solid case.
You heard it here first through the grapevine. I'm Jordan.
I'm Sheridan.
Together we're Sippin on Spice Podcast. If you like what you heard today, you can subscribe, you can follow us. Honestly, literally anywhere you find us, see us, whatever. We are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We would love to hang out with you more, but we will be here every week on Wednesday reviewing our latest read. And we'll also be online giving some more shorter reviews, what we're going to call mini-sodes. These are going to be more centered around books that we love that maybe just don't get as much hype. And these will be focused on maybe more indie authors, things you can find on Kindle Unlimited, or honestly, just some of our favorite books that we don't get to dive into here. Again, subscribe, follow TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Sippin on Spice Podcast. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
See you next week. Cheers.